Two men who spent 20 years trying to destroy each other on every tennis court in the world just sat down at the same table, picked up the same pen, and signed the same check. $50 million. Not for a stadium, not for a tournament, not for a brand campaign or a charity foundation or a legacy project with their names on the wall. For a 20-year-old girl from the Philippines. Her name is Eala. And if you don't know that name yet, you're about to understand why the entire tennis world is talking about almost nothing else. Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, two legends, two billionaires, two men who between them have won 34 Grand Slams and built commercial empires that most corporations would envy. For the first time in their post-playing lives, they looked at the exact same thing and thought the exact same thought. This is the one. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why they did it, how it happened, and what it means not just for Alex, not just for the Philippines, but for the future of women's tennis altogether. Stay with me because this story, it starts a long time before Miami. Picture a 12-year-old arriving at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain. She came with her brother, Michael, 2 rackets, and a dream so enormous that saying it out loud might have made most people laugh. She wanted to win Grand Slams. She wanted to be #1 in the world. And she came from a country that had never, not once in the history of professional tennis, produced a player inside the global top 100. She wasn't embarrassed by that. Her name was Alexandra Eala. And from the very beginning, the coaches at that academy could see something in her that statistics don't capture. It wasn't just the footwork or the ball striking or the competitive instinct. It was the way she processed pressure like it didn't cost her anything. Junior titles started coming early. The Australian Open Junior doubles at 14. Roland Garros Jr. doubles the year after. And then in 2022 at 17 years old, she walked onto the court at the US Open Girls Championship and did something no Filipino had ever done before she won it. Singles title straight sets. First Filipino in history to win a junior Grand Slam singles crown. The tennis world took a small note, circled her name in pencil. But junior tennis is one world. The WTA Tour is something else entirely. After turning professional, Alex did what every serious player has to do before the big stages will have them. She ground it out. The ITF circuit is brutal and unglamorous. Small tournaments in towns you've barely heard of. Early morning flights. Prize money that barely covers the hotel weeks away from everyone you love. It is where talent either gets forged into something real or quietly disappears. Alex did not disappear. She won her first ITF title in January 2021, then another in Thailand, then another after that. The wins accumulated slowly, carefully, the way a real foundation gets built, brick by brick, match by match. By the start of 2025, she was ranked 143rd in the world. Solid, promising, not yet a name that made headlines outside the Philippines, where she was already, by the way, a national hero. Globe Telecom had believed in her since she was 8 years old. Borbolet put a racket in her hands before she had a single professional title. Nike dressed her in their logo before the world understood what it was looking at. These were loyal partnerships, real ones. But no one in the global commercial conversation had truly understood what they were looking at. That was about to change in the most public, most dramatic, most unmistakable way possible. It was going to change in Miami. Here's what it means to enter a WTA 1000 tournament as a wild card ranked 143rd in the world. It means you are not supposed to be there. It means the draw is full of Grand Slam champions and women who've lived inside the top 20 for years. It means you're there to give someone else a comfortable first match. On paper, you go out in round 1, maybe round 2 if the bracket is kind. You are filler. You are background. Nobody passed that memo to Eala. First round, Jelena Ostapenko, former French Open champion. A forehand that could strip paint off the baseline. Gone. Second round, Madison Keys, reigning Australian Open champion. Top 5 in the world, playing some of the best tennis of her career. Gone straight sets. The tennis world went from a whisper to a buzz. Who is this girl? And then came the match that answered that question for everyone. World number 2. 5 Grand Slam titles. The most dominant player on the WTA Tour in the modern era. Iga Swiatek on the other side of the net. Alex beat her 2 straight sets clinical composed. A 20-year-old wild card ranked 140 in the world walking onto a major hard court and beating the best player on the planet as if she'd always belonged there because she had. In the press conference afterward, someone asked how she felt. She looked at the reporter, smiled, the kind of smile that only arrives after years of quiet preparation, and said, "My level is there, but I still have a lot to work on." That sentence, that calm, that refusal to be swept away by the enormity of the moment, that was the second the world stopped, turned its head, and truly looked at Alexandra Eala. Her ranking jumped from 143 to 75 in a single week. First Filipino ever inside the WTA Top 100. First wild card in history to eliminate 3 Grand Slam champions in straight sets at a single WTA event. Her social media following surged past 350,000 overnight. The Filipino media didn't just cover it. They celebrated it the way countries celebrate gold medals. And in Zurich and in Mallorca, 2 phones were ringing. You need to understand what kind of men Federer and Nadal are now, not as athletes but as business people, to understand why this deal happened. Roger Federer retired in September 2022. Since then he hasn't slowed down. He's compounded. That 3% stake he took in Swiss running shoe company On back in 2019, purchased for around $50 million when the company was valued at $2 billion, is now worth close to $500 million as a market cap has grown past $19 billion. That he has a $300 million deal with Eala. Ongoing partnerships with Rolex. Mercedes-Benz. Lint Forbes confirmed in August 2025 that his net worth had crossed the $1 billion mark. The first retired athlete outside the United States to hit that threshold through their sports platform. He did not get there by accident. Federer has understood something that most people in sport took much longer to learn. The most valuable thing an athlete carries isn't a trophy. It's a story. It's an identity. It's the feeling they create in the people who watch them. He understood that about himself. He understood it about On running and watching Miami from his home in Switzerland. He understood it about Alex Eala. Nadal's story runs parallel, different in detail, identical in conclusion. He retired in November 2024 after his final Davis Cup appearance for Spain. His business empire includes the Rafa Nadal Academy, now a global institution with campuses in Mallorca, Cancun, Greece, Kuwait, and Hong Kong, a hotel brand, luxury real estate, media production, and a stake in the tennis epic. In 2023, he sold a significant stake in his academy to private equity for €94 million in profit. His family holding company grew 44% in value in a single year. But more than the money, Nadal has talked about legacy. In June 2024, he sat beside Federer, yes, beside him, together at an event for young players at the academy, and gave a speech that now reads like a prophecy. He said they both knew that records get broken eventually, that what would always remain was the human being behind the athlete, the character, the values, the example. Alex Eala had trained on his courts. He had watched her grow up. He knew her game. He knew her character. He didn't need to be convinced she was different. He already knew. So Miami happened, and then the rest of 2025 happened. Alex reached her first WTA Tour final at Eastbourne in June, a grass court event, a surface that's supposed to favor big servers, not small girls from the Philippines. She made the final anyway. At the US Open, her first ever Grand Slam main draw. She faced Clara Tauson in the first round, 3 sets, down 5-1 in the third, match nearly over. And then she clawed back point by point, game by game, and won 7-6 in the third set tiebreak, 11 points to 9, 2 hours and 36 minutes of tennis that had the crowd at Queen's in absolute disbelief. First Grand Slam main draw win ever for a Filipino player in the Open era. Then came her first WTA 125 title in Guadalajara, first Filipino to win at that level. She ended 2025 ranked 50th in the world, having started the year at 143rd, a 93-place climb in a single calendar year. And 2026 picked up without missing a beat. At Indian Wells, she reached the 4th round of a WTA 1000 event, winning a match against Diana Schneider that kept fans in their seats past midnight in the cold California air, 2 hours and 43 minutes. As of this week, March 2026, Alex Eala sits at world number 29, the highest-ranked Filipino in WTA Tour history. She broke into the top 30 before her 21st birthday. Sky Sports presenter Gigi Salmon, speaking at a tennis event in London, put it plainly, and the room went quiet around her. In terms of her appeal, the crowds that follow her, she might already be the biggest star. Not the biggest rising star, the biggest star. Ha! If you are Roger Federer sitting in Zurich with a track record of knowing when to move before the market catches up, what are you thinking when you hear that? And if you are Rafael Nadal, the man who watched this girl take her first swings on your clay courts 12 years ago, who knows her from the inside out, what do you feel? They were feeling the same thing and they decided to act on it together. Here's where people get confused, so it's worth being precise. This is not a sponsorship deal. Federer isn't paying Alex to wear his logo. Nadal isn't putting the Academy's name on her kit. Those kinds of arrangements already exist in different forms. What Federer and Nadal have done, according to conversations being discussed across the tennis business world, is invest directly into Eala as a commercial entity. Think about how Federer invested in On Running, not as a spokesperson, not as a face on a billboard, but as a stakeholder with equity in the outcome. The $50 million is structured across multiple streams: brand licensing, media rights, content creation, endorsement strategy, and critically market expansion into Southeast Asia. The Philippines alone has over 110 million people. The broader Southeast Asian audience that has attached itself to Alex's story stretches into the hundreds of millions. That is one of the fastest growing sports consumption markets on earth, and both Federer's management company Team 8 and Nadal's business operation have identified it as exactly that. There is also something that no amount of money can manufacture. Alex grew up at the Rafa Nadal Academy. She is in the most authentic sense possible a product of that institution. For Nadal to invest in her brand is not just a transaction, it is an extension of his own story. The Academy's most famous graduate becoming the living proof of everything it was built to create. For Federer, this is the continuation of a philosophy he has practiced since 2019. Find someone whose story is genuine, whose appeal crosses every cultural boundary, whose character is beyond question, and get in before everyone else figures it out. He did it with a shoe company. Now he's doing it with a person. For Alex herself, what does this mean? It means the two greatest ambassadors the sport of tennis has ever produced looked at her and said, "We believe in you." Not for a season, not for a campaign, for the long arc of a career that hasn't truly started yet. She has said her dreams haven't changed since she was 12. She wants to win Grand Slams. She wants to be number one. And the people who know her best, from the coaches in Mallorca to the people who watched her grind through years of ITF tournaments before the world knew her name, say what makes her different isn't just the talent. It's the talent combined with the timeline. She is 20 years old. She is ranked 29th in the world. She has beaten Keys, Ostapenko, Swiatek. She has climbed 114 ranking places in just over 12 months. She has never played a full season at this level. She is, by any honest measurement, just getting started. Eala began 2025 ranked 143rd in the world. She enters the spring of 2026 ranked 29th. The highest any Filipino athlete has ever climbed in the history of WTA tennis. She beat 3 Grand Slam champions as a wild card, won her first title, made her first Grand Slam main draw, reached her first WTA final, and now in the most significant off-court development women's tennis has seen in years. The two greatest players in the history of the men's game have jointly committed $50 million to her future. This is not a fairy tale. It doesn't feel like one either. It feels like a blueprint. It feels like what happens when talent meets preparation, preparation meets opportunity, and opportunity finds two men who have spent their whole careers understanding exactly what a real champion looks like. The story of Eala is only beginning, and we are going to be here for every single chapter. If this video gave you something, if it surprised you, moved you, or made you believe in something, subscribe right now. We cover the moments that actually matter in women's tennis. The rivalries, the breakthroughs, the deals behind the scenes, the truth behind the headlines. Hit subscribe, turn on the bell. We'll see you in the next.